Whether you're looking for answers to specific life questions or seeking to become the best version of you possible, welcome to the Mental Breakdown and Psych Reg podcast, where we offer insight, information, and strategies based upon research and years of practice as clinical psychologists. So sit back, have a listen, and get connected with our hosts, Dr. Bernie Wilkinson and Dr. Richard Marshall. Welcome back, Richard. We're going to talk again about this, the new generation, the current generation.
Right.
And we have Generation X, Generation Y, Generation Z, or the millennials. And now we have iGen.
Generation I.
The iGen generation. So we're going to review a blog, post, article.
Yeah, I think it was a blog. Yeah.
How to promote healthy emotional social development in iGen teens. Man, I'm having a rough time with this one. How to promote healthy emotional social development of iGen teens.
Right.
There we go.
That is a mouthful.
Yeah.
And this comes on the heels of several podcasts that we've done recently on this topic of the relationship between the whole class of digital devices and social media,
right,
and the effect that it's having on increased rates of depression and anxiety, but also most recently we did a podcast on how it's affecting their social skills and their real person-to-person social interactions.
Right.
And there's an increasing body of literature that suggests that these devices, the device and the internet and social media, have a deleterious effect on social relationships.
Right. Yeah. In this article, this author references the Gene Twenge work that we talked about before, the iGen book that she wrote. And iGen refers to those born between 1995 and 2012.
These are digital natives.
Yeah, these are the people who were born and grew up with electronic devices.
What are the
1995 and 2012.
See, and those are my younger our younger children.
Right.
Are in that group.
Right.
Okay. Our older children are not.
Right.
The younger children are. So they're very much a product of what Gene Twenge calls this iGen.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've grown up with them. We were discussing last week about when the smartphone first came out.
Right.
And we just had the 10th anniversary.
Right.
But the original iPhones didn't have the internet capacity.
Right.
That came a few years later. So it's really been since about 2010 that these kids who were born grew up with this smartphone connected to the internet technology.
Right.
And that sets them a little bit apart.
Right. So in this blog post, the author offers nine strategies to promote healthy social emotional development. And again, the importance of this is rooted in basically what we talked about over the last couple of days, the last couple of podcasts, and that is, when we are so focused on electronic devices, we aren't building the necessary social emotional skills to interact with somebody face to face.
That's
right.
We talked about phubbing.
Right.
PHUBBING. And you and I, at the end of that, had a bit of a discussion.
Yeah.
Almost a mini debate.
Right.
Because I'm of the mind that you don't multitask and you're either paying attention to me or you're paying attention to the device, and that the device can damage relationships. And you made the point that these devices also enhance relationships, and that if you don't respond to a text, you may damage the relationship with the person who sent you the text.
Right.
And so it's a bit of a challenge to manage both things. And I always tend to think in terms of it's an either or.
Right.
And at the end of that podcast on phubbing, we said, well, what we're going to have to do is to teach people how to use these better, so that you have the advantage but not the disadvantage.
Right.
And so then we discovered this article, which is in a way says, okay, here's the device, here's some ways to use it,
Right.
So that it doesn't have some of the disadvantages.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the first thing is something we've talked about before, and that is to develop a healthy routine for unplugging. And so we talk.
Boy, that's important.
It's discussed here the idea of identifying times where you are unplugged.
You know, I think you mentioned it in the last one, was brain fatigue. You know, that if you're constantly plugged in,
Right.
and you're constantly being stimulated, and you're searching and looking,
Right.
and that your brain just is going to get tired.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the first one is, let's make some times
Right.
when you don't have your phone.
Right. And again, when you have these times scheduled and routine, then what it allows you to do is, you know, as the teenager, then you're able to say, hey guys, between this time and this time, I'm not available. So I'm not going to be able to respond. I'm not going to be able to talk during these times. And so this social implications, the social consequences of not responding to those social media notifications decrease.
Yeah, you take care of both problems. There's
Right.
time when you have your children's undivided attention,
Right.
and they can also protect their relationships by saying, hey, I can't talk between 7 and 8
Right.
at night. So,
Right.
yes, that's the way to protect it.
Yeah. The second thing is to encourage activities that counterbalance the impact of technology. So again, we're talking about things that are unplugged, but things that where you're interacting with physical things. So art and interacting with animals and sports and some of those kinds of things.
We live near the beach.
Right.
There are people who take their phone into the water. You know,
They buy those really expensive cases so that they can.
So in case they drop it,
Right.
it does. But going into the water,
Right.
into the ocean or into the Gulf, would be a way to be without your phone, at least
Right.
for that period of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The third thing is something we talk about often, and that is to promote healthy sleep.
Right.
Because of course, you know, to have good emotional regulation, good social skills even, you have to be well rested. If you're sleep deprived, you're going to be irritable and cranky and all those kinds of things. So you need to have good sleep hygiene.
I think the single most important step that a parent could take, that a person can take, adult or child, is to turn your phone off at night. Okay? You don't really need it. It doesn't need to be on. Just the anticipation that something might come in during the middle of the night is enough to interfere with sleep. And we talked about that brain fatigue.
Right.
Give your brain a break, and there's no better time to do it than at night.
And there are easy ways to do that. If you have, and I don't know how to do it on Android devices or things like that, but with your iPhone, for example, you can put your iPhone on Do Not Disturb, so that it does no notifications come through, no phone calls or text messages come through or anything, except those from individuals who you specify. And so, like my phone, because I use my phone as an alarm clock, which a lot of people do. Yeah. So, but I have it set on to automatically go into Do Not Disturb mode at a particular time, and to come off of Do Not Disturb at a particular time in the morning, so that if I get a call or a text from anyone, except for people that I specify, it doesn't come through and I won't see it till the morning.
I turn my phone off at night unless somebody in the family is traveling. Right. You know, somewhere where they might have to get a hold of me. So I can say, and turn it off unless it's, my daughter or my wife, whoever's out. And then you can still relax. Right. And have a decent night's sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, now the fourth thing is to discuss and process rational dynamics together to increase social emotional intelligence. So that was a mouthful for saying have a relationship, right? Talk to each other
with a real person.
With a real person, right?
In real time, with a real person, uninterrupted by electronics.
So we're talking about parents and teens talking.
Right.
It's a challenging idea, I know,
and it's harder and harder to do because we have less and less practice, and so it's less and less practice, and fewer opportunities. Right. So
but having that identified time to talk is really important.
That's right. We used to, in the old day, you'd have dinner and you would talk about, how do things go in school, and how's this going, how's that going? We've lost that. Right. Okay. But we need to get those things back, and they used to occur more naturally, but we have to not fabricate or pretend, but we need to build them into our lives today because consciously
we have to manufacture those times. Yeah.
That's right.
Now, the fifth thing is something, again, that we've talked about before, and that is to provide positive mirroring of healthy social, emotional stuff, healthy self-esteem and positive identity. And basically what we're talking about here is modeling.
We have to model what we want.
Right. You've mentioned multiple times before, it's really difficult to get your kid to stop using social media all the time if you are, in fact, using social media all the time.
How do you occupy the moral high ground?
Right.
We ask our children not to drink and drive, but there are adults who drink and drive in front of their children.
Right.
So how do you say, or whatever, drinking and driving, I think, is as good an example as any. I've had relatives who would drink while they were driving their cars.
Yeah.
Their children were watching this. Well, when they turn 16, how do you say, don't do what you just saw me doing?
Right. Yeah. Number 6 is to demonstrate and teach empathy to improve self-esteem and relationship success. And so, again, this is modeling, but it's also something we call direct instruction.
Right.
Let me show you how to do this.
Right.
So when a person is experiencing this, you do this.
That's right.
And that helps with that development.
And we're going to be talking about that in another podcast.
Right.
In the future.
Right.
About teaching. We have to teach empathy now. There was a time when it occurred more naturally.
Right.
It's not now, and so we have to build it in.
Right. And it still does, for a lot of people, it develops naturally. But for some, we have to teach it directly.
Right.
It's just the way that it is. Number 7 is to practice mindfulness at home to reduce distraction.
Right.
So mindfulness is unplugged. Mindfulness is, taking some time to breathe and to be present.
To think about what you're doing.
Right.
To think about what you're doing right now instead of chasing the device and waiting for the device to beckon you.
Right.
To sit down and just be in that moment. Think about what you're doing right now.
Right. Absolutely. Number 8 is to facilitate healthy intimacy through quality connection and expression of affection.
That was fubbing.
This is, it is. The names of these different ones, they're getting longer. It's really tough. But yes, that's what we're talking about is fubbing. We're talking about the idea of interacting and connecting one-to-one, not distracted by the phone, not distracted by the electronic device, but engaging one-to-one in a fully present way.
Intimate partners are going to have to work on this.
Right.
If you want to have an intimate relationship with another individual, there's only one other thing that will come between the two of you faster than a cell phone.
Right.
And that's another person.
Right.
Save for another person, this is something that could have a significant negative impact on your relationship. I know it does for me.
Right.
I mean, if you're going to talk to me, talk to me. Let's have we need to have a special relationship that doesn't include your cell phone.
Right. And finally, model healthy behavior for your kids to give them a roadmap for success.
Yeah.
And we're back to modeling.
Back to modeling,
again.
exactly.
Right. Modeling is one of the strongest theories of learning that we have. We learn from watching others. The whole idea of, do what you see.
Do as I do.
Kids are not going to do what you say; they're going to do what you do. And we have to remember that when our kids see us behaving, that's what they're going to sort of internalize as the model of behavior. They're not going to say, you used drinking and driving just a moment ago. They're not going to say, oh, Dad always says don't drink and drive, but yeah, I mean, he drinks and drives, but he says not to, so I better do what he said. That it doesn't work that way. No. And so they're going to do what they see you do.
They're going to internalize what they see.
Right. So you need to be mindful of that and to make sure that you're modeling healthy behavior.
Right.
So,
yep.
All right.
Don't bring your phone to the dinner table.
Right.
Makes it easier to prohibit others from doing so.
Exactly.
So,
all right. That's it.
Be thoughtful. Be careful.
The link to this whole list is in the show notes, so check it out. You'll like what you read.
Yes, this is good.
Until next time, Well, but before we go,
yes,
we keep mentioning new art, new video coming, or not new video, new art, new music
graphics.
coming soon, new graphics. So be mindful of that. It'll be coming soon. It'll surprise you when you look at your feed that we have some new artwork and everything. Very excited about that. Just to kind of take it up in a tick or two, it'll be very cool. Once that is launched, we're going to be launching our Patreon page, and we'll talk more about that as soon as it is launched and ready to go. But it's just another way or not another way, it is a way to so that you can help sponsor us a little bit, to help us be able to do more. We need a little bit of help in getting things edited and published and presentable, and for us to be able to do some of the other things we want to be able to do for you guys. We just need a little bit more time, and this is going to be a way to hopefully build in a little bit more time for us.
There are improvements that we want to make,
right?
But to make them, we need more time.
Absolutely. And but to do something for now to help until the Patreon page is up, is to write a review, rate us on iTunes, share our links to YouTube or to iTunes or to Google Play Music or to our website, whatever you can do to spread the word about the podcast, so that other people can check it out. And again, as more people have access to the podcast, some of the other things we're going to do, again, is going to hopefully get the word out and get more people involved and interacting and talking about some of these things. So, which is good for all of us.
Good for everybody.
So, all right, that is it for today. So until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, don't forget to be afraid.